Hi, I'm Michael Fukushima. I'm an animation producer. I used to be the executive producer and head of the animation studio of the National Film Board of Canada here in Montreal.
And my name is Emily Paige. I am currently general director and also the co-founder of ED Films.
Where animation shines and other filmic forms not as much are, in evocation of emotions and feelings, reimagining, illustrating memory, which is, tends to be sort of wrapped in fogs of forgetfulness, is a really great tool for telling stories that are really about memory, about the past, about family history, things like that. Animation also is great at expressing poetry and emotional impact. I'd say they're wrong. Do you need more than that?
I can understand why people say that all the time. Coming out of the workshop, we did a round and everybody responded with how animation connected with them. And it's in childhood, I think, especially 80s generation, where cartoons were everything and pervasive in all of culture, especially in North America. And so I can understand where that's rooted in, but it's a very limited idea of what is possible with the medium. So I think animation still is susceptible to that stereotype and to that limitation. So hopefully people are starting to understand that it's a very wide breadth international medium that people work with.
Maybe they think animators are fun, and animators generally are not fun. They're introverts. So, let's put that to rest.
The other thing that's a big misconception is that animation necessarily is expensive. A lot of people come to us that are very blocked to what's possible because there's this assumption that it's unaffordable or inaccessible. And that's not necessarily the case either. As I said earlier, animation is a very multifaceted industry. And so there's budgets and possibility everywhere.
My number one tip for every artist who's exploring something new is to just do something. Do something short, quick, easy. Get it out of your system. Mm-hmm. And then, if you're happy with that first little thing that you made, and by little I mean, it can be 10 seconds of something, then build on that and make something longer. Challenge yourself a little bit more. Spend 3 days on something instead of 2 days on something, and build. Work your way up to, let's say, making a 1-minute short film. Get your friends involved. Get them to help you with sound and music and things like that, and then just send it out into the world. That will unblock all sorts of things.
One of them, very basic, is go for a walk. I mean, we say that, but it's because when you're very deep into something, it can be very insular, it can be isolating, and you get into this mind meld. And so whatever it takes to get out of that space and into the fresh air and into the world and getting rebalanced and recentered, and then going back to what it is that you were doing this for in the first place, trying to find that root or that intention or that motivation, and going back to that as your energy to keep you going and finding solutions to move forward. So always being aware of why you're doing that and where you're trying to get to.
If you're an artist from a marginalized background, obviously the systems in place are inherently not there to help you. For me, the two things then that you really need to think about are finding a collaborator or collaborators who can help you kind of navigate the system, but also who can be there to support you as you go down the path and run into those obstacles.
Nowadays, there's all sorts of ways to access and get in front of people that even 10 years ago wasn't possible. So coming from a place of curiosity and going after those people who hold the wisdom that you need or the knowledge, or who can get you in front of other people who can move you forward. There's so much available online. I was saying earlier that the animation community internationally is a very generous one because most people have come through it. You know, some are lucky to go to school, but mostly the majority of animators that I've met in my career have a large amount of self-taught, or they're autodidact, which means that they're relying on all of the peers around them, and they're also relying on online communities, which are vast and complex. And so there's something very exciting about that potential of it no longer matters as much where your education was, or where you grew up, or who you are, or your identity as a person. What matters is what you've made and what you're creating and what your voice is. And so creating something, you're putting it out there, and there's 1,000 different ways that you can put it out there now and really connect, and that's how you can build. So the barriers are very, very different, and more barriers are being taken down or addressed, or there's a lot more access that did not exist before.